Hey guys, this is a video on Latin numerals and numeral formation. It is keyed to the handout that I have posted as a PDF in the materials section and also emailed to you. It's also keyed to the lesson that I gave you when we had our last Zoom. And you will want to refer to page 18 of the last grammar vocab packet, which I gave you, number 5. Okay, so first of all, grammatically, the important thing to know about numerals is that in Latin and English, most of the time, they function as adjectives. I'll explain what I mean. You guys remember, I'm sure, that adjectives are modifiers and that they modify nouns, right? So if I say dog, that's a noun. If I say the black dog, then black is an adjective because it's telling you what kind of dog we're dealing with it. With big dog, slow dog, but also one dog, right? Or big dogs, to do it in the plural, big is modifying dogs, 7 dogs. So 7 is also modifying dogs. It's telling you something about the dogs, the number of them, rather than their shape or size or color or something like that. So numerals, numbers are adjectives. That's the first thing to remember. And I hope that brings your mind back to how first/second declension adjectives work in Latin, right? Remember bonus atlum. So the general rule for adjectives is adjectives follow the nouns that they modify in gender, case, and number. Okay, so that's the first thing to remember, to understand, is that adjectives are numerals. All right, so this will help you if you're looking at this while I explain it to you. There are basically 2 classes of numerals that we need to deal with, and you're probably familiar with this from math from long ago. The 2 classes are cardinals and ordinals. Cardinal numerals, cardinal numbers, are what we call counting numbers. Those are the ones you think of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. Okay? Ordinal numerals are, that comes from the Latin word ordo ordinis, which means order or row or rank. Okay, so these are ranking numbers, right? So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ordinal numbers are 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, etc. Okay, so you have to have these 2 distinctions clear in your mind when you're thinking about Latin numerals, because there are 2 different general rules of thumb that apply to cardinal numerals on the one hand and ordinal numerals on the other hand. The general rule of thumb in Latin that applies to cardinal numerals is cardinal numerals are indeclinable. Okay, what does that mean? That means that they don't have endings that change for case, number, gender, things like that, right? So if you want to say the good king, you say bonus rex, right? That's nominative and it's singular and it's masculine to fit with rex. If you want to say good queen, you say bona regina, and that's nominative and singular, but it's feminine to fit with queen. If you want to say to the good queen, then you have to put both queen and good in feminine, dative, and singular. So that's going to have to be bone reginae, right? Now let's think about the number 5. The number 5 in Latin, as you can see if you look here, under cardinals, is quinque. So if we want to say queens as nominative plural, as a subject, queens, that would be reginae. And if you want to say 5 queens, you just say quinque reginae. You don't need to change it for the fact that it's plural. You don't need to change it for the fact that it's feminine. You don't need to change it for the fact that it's nominative. Quinque reginae. The reginae, the ending for the noun, you have to worry about. But you don't have to worry about changing the form, the morphology, that means the shape of the word, for quinque. Right? What about if we wanted to say 5 queens as a direct object, right? Well, how would you say queens as a direct object? You would say reginas, right? Because it has to be in the accusative plural. So you'd say reginas. But Quinque is indeclinable. So you just say quinque reginas. And if you wanted to say of the queens in Latin, you'd have to put it in the genitive plural. That would be reginarum. How would you say of the 5 queens? Well, just quinque reginarum. The point is that the endings don't change. That's what indeclinable means. Now be careful. It doesn't mean the endings don't change for the noun that it modifies, right? But it means that the endings don't change for that particular adjective. This is the general rule for cardinals. Okay? There are some exceptions, which I'll come to in a minute. The general rule for ordinals is that they work just like all other first/second declension adjectives. Now, if you look at the list here, it just says primus, secundus, etc., etc., right? Primus, secundus, tertius, you see that under ordinals. If you look at your own, you'll be able to see it more easily. So the point is that the point is that I have not given all the gender forms here, right? It just says primus, but primus stands in for primus aum, like bonus aum, malus aum, parvus aum. So just because you don't see the gender forms on here because they wouldn't fit, doesn't mean that they don't exist. They do. Okay? So ordinal numerals, the general rule is they're not declinable. Sorry, cardinal numerals, the general rule is they're not declinable. Those are the counting numbers, 1, 2, 3. Ordinal numerals, first, second, third, the general rule is that they are declinable. In fact, I think that's the universal rule. They're always declinable, and they decline just like bonus aum. So you use the same rules, right? So if you want to say the first queen, it would be prima regina. If you want to say the first king, it would be primus rex, right? If you want to say of the first king, it would be primi regis, right? Because you have to put king in the genitive, and you have to put primus aum in the masculine genitive singular to match it, right? So that's how ordinal numerals work. Now we're going to go back to the cardinals, and we're going to talk about exceptions, okay? Because I said for the cardinals, the rule of thumb, the general rule is indeclinable. Okay, so the 3 of the most important cardinal numerals are the first 3, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, sadly, are declinable. They don't follow the general rule of cardinals. And even more sadly, you might say, they have special paradigms of their own. Okay? So if you look on page 19, at the bottom, you see the special paradigm for 1, unus aum. It does work very similarly to primus aum or to bonus aum. It's very similar to a first/second declension adjective, but you'll see some differences. So, for example, if you look at the genitives in bonus aum, you'll see boni, bone, boni, right? That's the genitive singulars for masculine, feminine, and neuter. But it's not uni, une, uni. It's unius, unius, unius in the genitive singular there. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you to memorize these paradigms. Although if you want to try for extra credit, have me quiz you or something like that, that would be possible. But I'm not asking you to memorize the paradigms. I am asking you to understand how they work, so that if there's an open book quiz, you're able to look at your paradigms and apply the proper rules. Okay. So if you wanted to say of one queen, you would say unius reginae, because you have to put them both in genitive, both in feminine, both in singular. Okay, here's something to think about when you're dealing not with ordinal numerals, but with cardinal numerals. The number 1, the numeral 1, is by its nature singular, right? That's what singular means, 1. So that's why there are no plural forms here. Now if you flip the page, we'll see the special paradigms for 2 and 3, duo and tres, trio. Okay, so here on the next page, on page 20, are the special paradigms for 2 and 3, all right? And those 2 and 3 are by nature plural, right? You can't have 2 dog. You got to have 2 dogs. right? You can't have one dogs. That's singular. One is singular by nature. You got to have one dog. So one is singular by nature, 2 and 3 are plural by nature. So that's why you don't find singular and plural charts for these numbers. There's just one chart, singular, for 1, and one chart for 2 and 3, plural. Okay. So there's one more number that I want you to know about, okay? And that is the number for, there's one more cardinal numeral that I want you to know about, in that I want you to understand that it doesn't follow the general rule, okay? So there's a number for 1,000. The number for 1,000 is mille, M-I-L-L-E. You'll see that on the previous page, right here, 1,000, mille. Okay, so that is indeclinable, just as most cardinal numbers are indeclinable. So then there's also a similar or derivative numeral form from that, which is thousands. Think about it in English. It works the same way. You say, I saw 1,000 men. That means one thing. If you say, I saw thousands of men, that means another thing. So 1,000 is indeclinable, but thousands, millia, not mille, millia, thousands, is declinable. So that's an exception to the rule. And you'll see the paradigm for thousands, millia, on page 21. Okay, so that's the thing to remember. Cardinal numerals are indeclinable, with the exception of 1, 2, 3, and thousands, not thousand. There are some other exceptions too, multiple hundreds, but we're not going to get into those. Okay? So ordinal numerals, the ranking ones, not the counting ones, first, second, third, they're all declinable, just like bonus is declinable. And if you want to know how to decline them, just go to your adjectives paradigm on page 13, I think it is, the one for bonus and substitute in the right stems and the right endings and all that sort of thing. Okay, so let's talk about which numerals I want you to know. Going back to number 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. I want you to be familiar with those. Who knows, maybe we'll do some vocab quiz or something like that at some point. But for right now, I want you to know 1 through 10 and cardinals and ordinals. Be familiar with them, be able to use them. Okay? And I want you to have a working knowledge of certain others. So I want you to have a working knowledge of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100, and 1,000, and the corresponding ordinal numerals for those. So 20, as you see, is viginti, and 30 is triginta, and 40 is quadraginta, right? Quinquaginta, sexaginta, septuaginta, like that. 100 is centum. We've seen that before in lingua latina. And as I just mentioned, 1,000 is mille. Don't confuse that with millia, thousands. Okay, I won't rehearse out loud what the ordinals are. But I will talk about the fact that, say, for example, 16th, as you can see on here, is sextus decimus. You got 2 words there. If you wanted to make that feminine, it would be sexta decima. You have to decline both of those words, or sextum decimum, like that. That means 16th. So if you wanted to say the 16th king, it would be rex sextus decimus. If you wanted to say the 16th queen, it would be regina sexta decima, okay, or sexta decima regina. Okay, one more thing that I want to talk about here is counting from 10 to 20. Okay, so as you'll see on here, Latin works in a sort of way that's similar to a mirror image of, backwards from, the way we think about it in English. So mostly when you think of the numbers between 10 and 20, there's something or other teen. right? So we have 13, we have 19, etc., etc. But if you think about it, the numbers right after 10, the two right after 10 don't follow that pattern, right? So we say 9, 10. We don't say 1 teen, 2 teen, right? We say 11, 12. And then we get into the teens, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and we get to 20. Latin is sort of backwards from that. So if you look at this page, you'll see decem is 10, and then undecim, not decem, but undecim, is 11, and duodecim is 12. So it's like 1 teen, 2 teen, right? So you don't have to bother with remembering special numbers for 11 and 12. The pattern is basically the same. But where we say 18 and 19 and the pattern is the same, they work in a different way. So if you look at 20 on the list, viginti, right? And 19 is un de viginti, which means 1 from 20. 20 minus 1, which is 19. So un de viginti is 19. 18 is duo de viginti, so 2 from 20. These numbers are indeclinable. But the point is, for us, the basic pattern of teen, teen, and for them, the basic pattern of decim, decim is the same, okay? But for us, we make special exceptions, weird exceptions for 11 and 12, where they follow the normal pattern. But for the Romans, those follow the normal pattern, but they make special exceptions for 18 and 19, which are 1 from 20 and 2 from 20, un de viginti and duo de viginti. Okay, so there's your introduction to Latin numerals, and I hope you understand. Remember that in your materials section, this is posted in written form in a handout, which you should look at. There will be quizzes and exercises on this at some point in the future, and you can always refer to this. This should be your sort of Bible for numerals in Latin. Thanks. God bless you. See you at the next Zoom.